Yes.
Yeah. It's Richard.
Your bot is working, Warren. I'm being spammed by messages.
I know.
I actually got 2 of the same one though.
Yeah. So I got the same thing as well. So it's obviously so close. Yeah. Sure. Mostly doing XPath and forgetting how much I hate it. just in the end, it turns out it was sort of simple. It was $root / one name / one name. But I must have tried 100 different variations of / name / this. Am I in the right? I don't have any idea whether I'm in the right ballpark or not. That's the other problem. It's like I've just got to try lots of combinations until I hit the right one. It's not like with old XSLT. At least I could go up one, across one, down one, and hopefully I've got all the right things. And then you spit it out to the screen. And you go, oh, I'm in the wrong tree element. With this, with 404 thing, you just have no idea. It just works or it doesn't.
I think we've still got some old XSLT nav bars, Ravi.
Get out.
I like them. They load fast.
No, that is true. I don't disagree with that.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, it's French, so vite.
Eat.
Yeah, it means speed or something.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Yeah. Yeah, well, the proof of concept was really a snapshot in time of this project. So this project has been built and extended since then. It's been a few months already, so we have come a far way. But yeah, the structure is more or less the same. Now we have more components in place. Yeah. Yeah, so Vite kind of reacts to changes to those files automatically. It basically reboots the server, but it's very fast. And yeah, it works much like app settings, as you know from the .NET backend. But really, we just use the local file to overwrite whatever. It doesn't need to contain all keys. It can just overwrite whatever it wants, and it's get ignored. So yeah, can play around with it. Exactly, yeah. But the other one is in Git. There's one for dev and one for production, and then another for staging and a fourth for testing. So sort of how you want to bootstrap all the environments. So the production obviously turns off a lot of stuff like we don't need a mocked service worker for handling network requests. We want to ask a server instead, and yeah. Exactly. That's right, yeah. So I thought we could maybe try and build this redirect management dashboard because it's there and it's empty and it's kind of straightforward to do, and it kind of covers a lot of subjects like how to get data, how to build new components, and how to document them, work with them. Obviously, it's a completely new. Well, we're kind of going for feature parity with the old back office, so we more or less just need to copy stuff over. We're not going for the big design change here, but it kind of goes to show how you work with the new UI library components compared to the old built-in components in Angular. So yeah, if we do that, we could kind of cover a lot of bases. As you said, it's a lot of work in progress here, and we actually have an active pull request right now for dashboards specifically. So I don't know if we wanted to work off of that branch. It's not been approved yet, but
let's live on the bleeding edge. So
yeah.
Wookie, revert is your friend.
Yes, exactly, Ravi. So I assume it's this branch from Mads that we're going to be taking a look at. Okay, so let me switch.
Exactly.
Let me switch.
So as you saw before, the dashboards kind of didn't change when you switched to media and settings. I think this branch covers that. It tries to put them into their own.
Let's make sure I've got all the latest. Okay, I switched. Oh, obviously still with Vite running. Maybe it would have.
It should be okay actually, but yeah.
Okay, so due to my env.file,
Yeah.
I'm back at this state as opposed to the back office.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So
is
it's a static state. It doesn't really save your kind of install status, because when you reload the app, it re-requests the endpoint, and that environment variable instructs the mocked endpoint what to return. So you can actually see the network request happening in
let's take a look.
in the dev console. I don't know if you need to reload.
Nope. I've got a request that was to install.
Yeah, if you want to see them, make sure you have to reload, because you didn't have it open when it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can either go to like the console itself. It kind of logs every time it catches one of these endpoints. So as you see the MSV logs there. MSV is short for mock service worker. So it's really a service worker installed in the browser that kind of handles requests and knows what to respond to them.
So this is for the minute we don't have a live API or server to talk to. This is the mock service worker returning us kind of data injection that we would expect.
Just as you do now, you never really, well, you didn't show it, but you didn't actually boot up any backend to get this far in your example. So that's all MSV doing it for us, and it kind of lives on top of the schema that we're building as well to know what models to mock, so we don't accidentally get a mismatch between the front end and back end. But yeah, you can see what the request contained and then what the response was. So if you go to the server status one, the one in the middle, you should actually get like the value you set in your environment file. And then the body there, so you see server status must install. And so we kind of use these environment variables to hook into the server. We can change the running state without having a database. So whenever I work on the installer in the old back office, it's actually gotten a lot easier now with SQLite. I can just delete the SQLite file and I'm right back to the installer. But you kind of have to do that, either rename the database or something to get back to that.
String.
Yeah, exactly. So here we can just kind of bootstrap it. Also for testing, like so when we do the end-to-end tests, we just set the variables must install and must upgrade. And yeah, it's just there without a database. So we could click through the installer with the automated testing and just see that everything works. We can't do that today actually, because the end-to-end tests kind of run on a pre-set up database. So it's already installed, so to say.
There's a lot more
setup
that is required for the end-to-end tests to run. Like you say, we need a database scaffolded for our end-to-end tests to run and things like that. So this will make life easier.
That, and we can also test stuff like external login providers and 2FA, stuff that requires composers being set up in the old back office. We don't have to set up the composer here. We can just kind of mock the response. So kind of fake that we have a 2FA set up, for instance.
So I'm going to change this back to running and save this. And
yes, sir.
There we go. I'm going to see if I can put these side by side so we can get a little idea of what's going on. So what is?
So now you're running on the new branch,
Yes. So what is new in this PR to know that I'm definitely in the correct branch?
Well, I guess if you switch section, you should get new dashboards. Members hasn't been implemented yet.
Okay, and members is not going to have a tree, maybe? Hence, it's a full dashboard?
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, looks bold.
Exciting.
Settings. Okay, so we can go to About, Examine Management, Models Builder. So
And then so he just put in a lot of empty files there.
Is this PR in this branch in a state where we can start kind of playing around with it and start contributing? Is there a list of up for grabs items on here, or is it still very much with HQ?
Yeah, there are no up for grabs yet, but we're trying to get there. In fact, that's why he's working on these dashboards at the moment, because it kind of allows us to parallelize a lot of our tasks. When we have the scaffolding in place, we can start building stuff. But yeah, we probably still need like a contributing guide to the new back office, like what areas should you be aware of, because we do need to create a schema for any endpoints that we want. And I mean, we do need a few things like a storybook story for it and some unit testing and end-to-end testing. So yeah, we'll get there for sure, but the repository is open, so anyone can go and take a look and see what we're building.
I'm sorry,
I share the link here.
Yeah, I missed the start of this because I was in a meeting that just would not end. So. Apologies, Warren. I know you sent me a message earlier, Warren. I'm sorry, I missed all of this.
No worries, not a problem. But yeah, it's very much a work in progress, and we're just taking a look at what the state is today, and and just having a nose round. So, Jacob, did we say that we'll try and reproduce the redirect management?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where would I be looking in the source code if I want to start changing this?
Well, since it's an existing dashboard, even though it's empty, there should be a file in the source backoffice folder. And in the dashboards there, yeah. And you kind of have the redirect management there, yeah. So this is like scoped for. So anything we want to build for this particular dashboard, we're going to put into this folder.
Yep.
Currently, there's the element that's been shown on screen, and then a stories file, which probably only contains a very simple story when you run it in Storybook instead. But I guess we'll show that at the end if we have time.
Yep.
But yeah, we can put in the test file here, for instance, when we get so far, and any helper components as well. We might want to split it into more components down the road. So yeah, have a folder for that. Okay. But it should, like the HTML you see on the screen, should correspond to what you have in.
Okay, so I'm gonna
on the screen.
So if I update this and then save, will this automatically repeat?
Well, I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, look at that.
Whoa.
Perfect.
What do you know?
So I am going to too much stuff open.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I could while you find that, I could explain that it is a web component that we're seeing instrumented with lit in TypeScript. So we're not building a bare bone web components, but we are building lit components which really extend from the native web components. But it helps us a lot in terms of keeping state in a component and kind of updating the template when any props change. And yeah, we can do, we save a few hundred lines per component by having lit.
Yeah.
So
I can see in DevTools that, yeah, there is a component or a DOM element, which is called dashboard redirect management, which is what obviously this seems to align with. So I have I did have the HTML of the other, and I was gonna just attempt to.
Yeah. So I think we could start with just the UI and get that up and running. Just following kind of the old table there, because yeah, as I said, we don't want to reinvent the wheel here. But we do have the comparable elements available in the UI library already, so we should actually be able to build something like that.
Okay,
so if you can find the HTML from the old Angular template there.
Yes, which I do. So this is our current stuff. So we've got some divs and some other bits and pieces. But for now, does it make sense to just try and copy this
So
HTML and then start replacing it with the stuff from the UUI library?
Yeah, so as we had a look through it before this this presentation, and there are some things we won't be able to do. For instance, the admin stuff at the top, we don't really have the concept of admin users yet, so could probably be left out for now. Yeah, those, or you could do it without the if in front if you wanted to. But yeah, I think the table shown there is the most important one. But it's not actually using any components at the moment. It's just trying to steal the classes from the UMB table, as we talked about. Yep. And we actually do have a nice table in the UI library now. So
that was me pasting it in. And then it's now attempt to.
Well,
6. So now we need to sexify it.
Yeah, we can call it that.
You can de-angularize it.
Right, yeah. The good stuff about web components is that, well, it's really normal DOM elements. So all the AngularJS stuff you see, like the ngIf and ngRepeat, they are just being ignored because the browser doesn't know what to do with them, and lit doesn't know what to do with them either, but it's not exactly failing. But if you did put them into an AngularJS template and you didn't have set up like the scope with the correct ones or like a controller, you would probably start seeing errors in the console. So here we can just work from that and kind of try to build out the table from the top down.
I've managed to find a table in uui.umbraco.com and then searched for that, and then I've gone to the docs tab, and then I've got some example here. So I am going to...
Yeah, so you can replace the first line maybe with...
Yeah, okay.
With I guess there's a div there with the... that one, yeah.
And it had some class that was inactive. Yeah, well... Not worry about all the. Let's just get it to loosely look the same.
Yeah, and then.
And am I getting completion because of how the project is all set up? So if I'm doing like UUI, I can see all the components already.
Yeah, so you actually have them there. Yeah, it's VS Code being excellent. So it's really good to. It does it really well to kind of find the custom elements that's being. There's a JSON file being published along with the UI library, which contains the documentation for those.
Perfect.
But yeah, if you put, if you put the end tag below your old table, you can actually maybe begin to see like the outline of the table.
So that was
what's it there?
One.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, well, you probably need more, but at least it's now being put into the slot of the table, so into the shadow DOM of that.
Okay, so you can see that we've got these UUI table columns.
Yeah.
The comments are apply styles to the UUI table columns to style the columns. You must have the same number of this elements as you have columns.
Yeah, so you kind of need to declare your columns there, and then you actually below put in the table head with the actual column data. Yeah, and I to be honest, I can't exactly remember the reason for declaring them first, but I guess it's not really a normal HTML table. It is it consists of custom elements, and we do need them to be friendly for screen readers and stuff. So
20.
Does that mean it's going 16. To eventually be using an 8? I was thinking that, but
2,
I didn't want to start bringing up accessibility at the early stages.
So yeah, for sure.
It will be an HTML table eventually.
Well, it kind of extends from HTML tables, so the browser should treat them as such. But I mean, even what we have here is certainly better than the old back office, but that was just regular divs being faked as kind of table cells. So I'm sure a screen reader would have great trouble navigating through all the rows there.
I don't think it would be very difficult to convert this into an HTML table, and then it would perform all of the tasks that it should do as a table for accessibility. But I was going to ask about things like being able to add sorting and filtering. So if it was a real table, an HTML table, we could add sorting and filtering in the table header as well. And there's some really good native stuff that works. And also, I think on some of the tables, it would be really nice if we can resize the table cells, if we can grab in between the columns and resize them. Is that something?
Are we hearing feature requests now?
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
No. So, well, I mean, the UI library is kind of dumb in this context. So it isn't being concerned with what data to show. It basically just exposes the components. What we do want to put into like the back office part here is some more advanced tables where you can go like, well, in the old back office you had the UMB table, which you could kind of just put items into. I think the property is called items. And it kind of understood that data and tried to, show rows with icons and IDs and like kind of you could click them or select them. And so we want to build something like that for the new back office as well. And seeing that we now have a chance to kind of work with the models, we can basically break everything. We can align the models and sort of get these advanced tables to work. So I don't know exactly about like native functionality in terms of filtering, but we do have in the storybook there's an advanced example where we kind of try to build stuff like sorting, filtering, basically whatever. I guess it was, well, I can't remember who, but someone had like feature requests for what a table should be able to do, and we kind of tried to see if we could do that already. So a component like that could be put into the back office. So you would have like a sortable table, which understands some Umbraco data.
Component. Hopefully we get everyone will contribute, and we can have lovely squishy tables with filterable headers. It'd be fantastic.
Sure.
In theory, could we not just have like a bunch of TypeScript libraries that go alongside these components, which will then add features like being able to sort and do this kind of thing?
If we don't provide a specific thing, it would be easy to extend it from any of your own custom components. So you basically just with JavaScript extend the class. And you can override everything like the render method or the sorting method, whatever you want.
What would be the contribution path? Have you thought about the contribution path now? Because quite often, if there's some feature requests, as you put it, sometimes I would call it intrinsic functionality. But yeah, if somebody wants to request a feature, quite often it's easier to create a package, people install the package, everyone likes it, and then it gets brought into Umbraco as part of the core. If it's going to be web components now, would you expect people to make a copy of the web component, add their desired functionality, and then bring it into say you wanted to make a nicer table, table that has a bit more functionality, you wanted to add the sorting and filtering, would you expect people to make a copy of the standard table, add the sorting and filtering, and then install it in a back office, or make it as a package? Or
you if you want to bring something custom into the back office, you would have to make a package. But in the old back office, if you wanted to say extend one of our included tables, native tables, or like implemented tables, you'd have to copy everything and yeah, make a completely new component. With web components, if you just want to add some functionality, you could most likely extend our component and put that functionality into it. And then we'd, of course, be liable for maintaining the public-facing API of that component. But I mean, that's what we're going for anyway. So should be able to make a mini component that basically extends our component, and people can use that. Of course, they would have to use, you know, the new tag of your component. So instead of UMB table, they would go with the Dean table. And yeah, could be possible.
I don't know about
but,
table, but
but are you asking about, like, so you mentioned the contribution part, and well, the answer to that question is yes and no. We have thought about it, but we don't really have a path yet. We do need, I mean, currently it is in its current state. It's kind of hard to parallelize the tasks of you know, converting the old backoffice, because we're not quite there yet. We're still building the structure, but we want to get there. We want to be able to enable a load of developers to begin working on the back office. We also have the new community team, the back office community team, and we want to get them started as well. And in order to do so, we kind of need to build a structure and then, you know, just expand outwards from there. So this pull request or this branch that Warren is working on at the moment kind of enables all dashboards in the new back office. So they are all there, they're empty. They need to be filled with whatever was in the old back office. And that's kind of easy to do with the UI, but then we need to figure out, we need to write a contributing document saying how could you add the schemas, the API schemas to your new dashboards, and what kind of tests are we looking for to have included before any particular component is considered done. And that's the work that we are still missing, that we are ever so slowly starting up on.
Well, that's another point as well. Are you going to be? Are you aiming to, because they're encapsulated, would you be able to bring in individual components into what is essentially the current version of Umbraco, and have them running side by side and just swap one out for the other?
Well, the plan is to include the UI library in the old back office at some point. So you would be able to use the new UI for your components. We try to demonstrate it as well on the CodeGuard workshop. But yeah, you can actually do that now. It's just not included by default, but we want to do that so you could at least start to convert your packages into the new UI, kind of your extensions, property editors, stuff like that. Use the new UI so that when you actually start building for the new back office, you just need to switch out the business logic and not worry about the UI at least. That will probably be as far as we can get you in the old back office. So
watching Warren doing this, it's lovely, isn't it? It's just
Cool. So we managed to, or I've managed to just rip out that old HTML and get something looking similar-ish to what we've got. What would be the next port of call that we should do, or prototype? What would be the next thing that you would be doing, Jacob?
I'll probably start looking at getting the data there. To do that, you would, I guess this particular example we don't need to change the data, if at all. So we can just go into the old back office and find the request.
Okay. So I've got the old back office open here. Let's do a refresh. Go to the network tab, and I
believe it's the last one there, yeah.
Yeah, normally. So it's got a page count, and a total count, and then it has an array of search results, which then has a content ID, create a culture, the destination URL, the original URL, and some redirect GUID.
Yeah, I guess we see here a perfect example of things not aligning at all throughout the old back office. So, I mean, some of these properties looks to be very specific in terms of like the search, asterisk endpoints, and it's probably a good idea to kind of build on from that. But as we see here, it's a paged list of results. We don't really have that concept yet established in the new back office, so there's no like model you could extend from. But I guess for now, just at least making a mocked endpoint that kind of sends the same data would be a big step in terms of converting the dashboard.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a bit funny with the like content ID. What even is that for a redirect? So yeah, you want to. So schemas at the moment are a bit well, not hacky, but they are not where they are supposed to be. They are actually located in the schemas directory.
So this one here.
Yeah, and that's where we will see the schemas. But in order to actually build the schema, you need to go into the temp schema generator, and it's put there at the root. If you go to like the temp folder there, yeah. So this is a generator for schemas. It's a way for us to easily build an open API schema without having to write it by hand.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to move this generator somewhere else, and it's still up for discussion where, if it should be its own repository or maybe the CMS repository. Obviously, the CMS will have some new endpoints as well that will themselves expose the schema. So we can kind of compare, either compare or maybe have that as the baseline for the schema. But for now, you kind of want to maybe copy one of the existing ones, like the installer or upgrader, for instance. I think the upgrader would be good to copy.
Okay. That dashboards, or what would we call this?
Well, what is the old controller called? I can only see the end of the path in your dashboard there, or in your old back office. So what's the complete URL for that endpoint?
Let's take a look.
If you go to headers, you should be able to see it.
Umbraco backoffice.
So it actually
redirect URL management.
So it has its own controller called redirect URL management. So would probably be good just to do that as well. So if you could just call it redirect URL management.
If I could learn to type management.
There you go.
Yep.
Good. Open it up, and I guess we need to start renaming stuff. So what you have here is it's two endpoints. Our two endpoints, a get and a post endpoint. So they are used for the upgrader. One is to get like the settings of the upgrader, so what kind of upgrade is needed, and the other one is to authorize the upgrade. And I think it's a good example for the redirect URL management. So you need a get endpoint to get the redirects, and you need some other, maybe not a post endpoint, but you do need a delete endpoint, I know, and yeah.
Okay.
So
for now, let's just focus on. Let's just get rid of this one then, or comment it out.
Because yeah. Just remove that, yeah.
And then the path. Do we try and map it so it's the same?
Yeah, so just call that redirect URL management / and then we can
management.
Yeah. And you could call that, I guess it's called something like search URL redirects.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very specific.
Maybe just call it
query strings for paging and things.
Yeah, and we need those query strings as well here, but maybe just call it redirects. I don't know.
Yep,
we kind of want to try a get, a REST approach to these new endpoints. So if you wanted a specific redirect, you would do /redirect/ID, and then you could have like a get and delete for that.
Yep.
But yeah, to get all redirects, it's probably good like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside you can also just rename the class there. It doesn't really matter what it's called, but just something that makes sense.
Get redirect.
Could just be get redirects. And then you need to decide what kind of status codes it sends. So the 200 would obviously be the redirects, and then anything else would be the problem details object. So it could be a 500 code or anything like that.
I assume this is the problem details one is a common model.
Yes, so we try to put all errors into a problem details object.
Okay, so let's create one called redirects response, and we'll
exactly
redirect response.
Yeah, and there you could, I think you can just copy in what you had in the preview tab in the old office, back office.
Let's have a look.
Obviously, it's JSON, and you kind of need JavaScript here, or TypeScript. But yeah, I don't actually know if you have. There's a plugin for VS Code at least, and maybe it does it natively that can kind of take JSON and paste it in as types. It's pretty neat actually. So you just have some JSON in your clipboard, and you invoke this function called paste JSON as types, and it kind of tries to mock that. Well, the command is at least paste JSON as types, but yeah, not sure. Or paste JSON,
Paste JSON as code.
So yeah, it's probably an extension. Do you have the as code? All right. Maybe I should actually have researched this.
No worries.
I just started thinking of it.
There's a quick type extension called paste JSON as code, which seems to be a popular one.
Yeah, I have that installed. I guess it provides kind of as code, and as it surely has the as types as well.
Yeah,
that's what you want. Yeah, the top one there.
Seems like popular one.
Yeah,
1.3
that's the
million.
one. That's the one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's natively in VS in full Visual Studio, but it's not natively in VS Code.
Oh, good to know.
In full Visual Studio, you can do paste special, which will then let you paste JSON as classes, also XML too.
So paste JSON schema or paste?
No,
JSON?
it's normal JSON you have in your clipboard at the moment. So as types would be the one to go, but nothing is happening. No.
No.
It might not be in its clipboard anymore.
Yes, thank you. It does not contain valid JSON.
But that's for maybe you hit one of the. Yeah, you need to copy from the response exactly. That's the
top level type name. So redirect.
Yeah, so that's the redirect response. Yeah.
We'll call it 2 for now.
Yeah, you will have it. Yeah, exactly. So it actually made 2 nice interfaces for you. Yeah, that's more or less what we want. So yeah, but you do when you manage to copy the the correct JSON, it works.
Yes. Yep.
I think it's neat, but for such a small model, it's all right. You can do it quickly. But yeah, if you're working with like, what did I have? All the databases in the installer, kind of just went and just try to align the models. You also do find like discrepancies in models if you try to do like that. So like several of your objects could contain like spelling mistakes in the property names or something like that, and you would get both. So nice to validate.
Yep.
But yeah,
so
if
now
you
I've done this, what's the next step?
So now you have is there an error at the top of the file, or I think it's red Oh yeah, because you didn't install that yet. So it's actually like a mini TypeScript project inside this folder. So you need to do an npm install in there as well, it's just to generate the schema. And as I said, this will be moved out eventually.
To temp schema, and then we're going to do an npm.
Yeah, exactly.
Install in that one.
Yeah. And while it does that, you could go to the api.ts file and just import your new file here. So just at the top, you just need to import it.
Redirect management.
Yes.
Cool.
And then in your terminal, you write npm run generate, I believe. Yep. So what it does is invoking this air tasker spot CLI tool, stating what contract you have, what language, what API type, in this case, a open API, and then where to put them. So it should actually now have updated your schema file in the schemas folder. If it worked, and it did throw a few errors, or what happened there in your terminal?
Error module. Tap table has no exported member tappable. Or tappable. Yeah, tappable has no exported member tappable.
It doesn't really look like our code, I would say. Did you actually get a change in the schemas?
No, there's nothing yellow.
Or API.
Yeah,
no.
There's nothing yellow over here to say that it's
changed. That's really bad.
Well, we was working with a
There's all new code, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So actually, we don't really control this schema generator. I guess, yeah.
What version are you?
Just quickly on the schema generator, in terms of things like this, where you've got a library that's being temporarily used to generate your schema for your APIs, is this kind of thing likely to be persisted, or are you looking for a more permanent home for it, or once you've got the API structure in a more familiar and shareable format, are you likely to then kind of remove this library and actually move to a different way of generating this stuff? I guess.
Well, yeah, that's still up for debate, because the only persistent thing here is really the schema file, which we are trying to generate here. That's the api.yml file you can see there on the left side. So that's the one we want to commit somewhere. And the question is then, should that be its own repository, or could it maybe be the CMS repository? We don't really know yet. And then another part of your question is then the generator, how to generate it. Well, we're using just a TypeScript library here because, everything is TypeScript anyway. So it made sense to do that. Obviously, the .NET side will use something like whatever they install there. I don't know the exact packages, but they can easily decorate all the models and controllers with Swagger, and then get out a similar schema. And so what we really want to investigate or research is, could we use that as the master so when we want to generate a schema, you just boot up the backend and tell it to generate a schema, and you save that to disk. That could be one model. So we would have to go into the backend if we wanted to create new endpoints and just mock them up there. Another one could be, we have something like this in another repository, I don't know, another folder, and we use that to generate the schema, and then we kind of compare the outputs of this schema to the backend schema. And to do the comparison, you could use something like Postman to do that. In fact, we could host the entire schema with Postman as well. So that could actually be the master. So say you wanted to know what Umbraco 13.0 looks like, you can pull that out from Postman, and you can start working with that in your own packages, or in as we see in the backoffice frontend. So that's also a possibility. But yeah, it's ongoing work at the moment.
Yeah,
we have.
I can imagine getting to that final workflow is going to be quite a bit of work still to get that one thing that works both the back office and the front end and something
exactly
shareable and documented.
The end result is that we are schema first, so to say. So if we are missing an endpoint, we put it in the schema and then we generate the TypeScript interfaces based on that. And we are not concerned with having an actual server running. So that's how we want the workflow to be. But how to generate the schema is the thing in question here.
Cool.
But yeah, Warren, did you figure anything out?
No.
No.
What version of Node are you using on your machine?
Well, it looks perfectly valid, whatever you are using. So maybe you can do. Yeah, I don't know. Was it actually called generate? Is that the script?
I'm just looking. Yeah, npm run, and then you've got npm run generate.
Figure that out as well. Yeah, it looks to be right, but maybe there was a new version of this at some point. I don't know. Actually, it looks normal. Maybe I should just try and run it.
So what that would have done is update this YAML file, which is the OpenAPI spec that would have, and then there would have been some more paths in here to describing what we expect. Are we able to potentially move on, or does this?
Well, we can move on. I guess you have the interfaces. We can just put them somewhere else. I get the same error here, even though we didn't put in a new schema. So something changed somewhere. I don't know what this tappable is that they are talking about.
Okay.
It's certainly not in our code base.
Nice. So,
but yeah. As you said, it would have put it in the YAML file there.
Yep.
Yeah. And based on that, we would then have run another script. You can go in the main package.json file and find the script called generate::API.
Let's go up.
Well, don't run it, but just maybe open up the package file and find it.
Too many things. That's that folder. Is it at the root?
Yeah, the root.
So we've got some scripts.
And then it's a script. It's called generate::API there in line 30. So it runs another tool called OpenAPI TypeScript. And now you might ask, why are we already wrote it in TypeScript and now we need to convert it back to TypeScript, but that is to simulate the real workflow. So this tool will actually be the one that we will use when we get like a sort of real schema. So we run this tool on the schema file. It will output then a TypeScript file containing all the interfaces. So if you go to that output file there, schema/generated schema, it's also in the root there. You have it just 2 lines up. Yeah. Yes, just open the TypeScript file there. So it contains like 2 main interfaces. One is called paths, which contains all the endpoints and their operations as well. So really nice to you already have intelligence here on the URL of all the endpoints, and if you use that, you can then know what kind of operations they support and what the models will be. So if you go into one of those operations, like the authorize, you can actually see the parameters wanted and the responses that it could provide with certain error codes. And you can go into that and see, well, what kind of error status code did I then receive, and kind of figure out what the model is of the response based on that. And this tool then also generates a fetcher based on this. So if you open up the file called fetcher.ts, I'm not exactly sure where it's located, but you can maybe just go Control P, fetcher.ts. So it imports the fetcher from the package and then the paths from this generated schema, and it kind of just creates a fetcher based on that with the base URL. And so the base URL will be like the URL to the server. Currently, it's just relative because It's just it's being mocked here in the front end. But based on that, you can then export a function for all endpoints and methods. So you're actually going to have a line for like all get operations and all post operations and sort of and using those, you kind of you already have intelligence and type checking for all the data that's returned. So as you see there, it gets the data, yeah, and it has the server status. So that's actually the endpoint you showed before in the browser.
Yep. So it's that must install, must upgrade.
Yeah, and you can put that into a switch, for instance, and it'll alert you for all the cases of that, for instance. So if anything changes, you'll start seeing errors in your code. And this is where, you know, TypeScript gets really strong. I guess you're outside the try catch here, so you need
okay, thanks.
maybe the this.server status in your switch.
Just...
But yeah, we actually have it just below on line 84.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah. We do the same.
Yep.
But yeah, so what we would have seen here is our new endpoints being put into the generated schema, and then we could have exported functions for those to be used wherever we want in the app. So in our redirect management element file, we could just have imported that function and started getting data. Well, it would have failed because we haven't yet set up the mock service worker to intercept the endpoint, but it would have made the request. So I guess, Warren, what we need to do now to actually get data is then start mocking the endpoint, and we can maybe do a manual fetch for the data.
Yep.
So if you find in the source folder, and then where is it now? Core, yeah, and so source, core, and then mocks.
Extension models, services, stores. Oh, further down, yeah.
Sorry, it's not in the core. It's like
yep.
the source mocks. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. Sorry, couldn't see. You have two handler files there. One is for browser, and another one is for end-to-end testing. So for the browser, you might want to react on those environment variables that we mentioned at the start of this. Yeah. And at the end-to-end, you don't actually have access to environment variables, so you want to kind of mock them a bit further out. So we want to change out handlers based on different stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did I want to say? Well, in the browser handler, we kind of need to add a new handler for redirect URL management. So you see a lot there already, actually more than what is in the schema. We didn't yet create schemas for all things, but you can just maybe copy one of the handlers in the domains folder, and you can just so if you do with the upgrade again, just copy that for it, redirect URL management. That management is a tricky word.
I just can't spell.
Well, it's your language.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's very basic here. You just have to like do the rest.get for all get endpoints, and you can do .post or .delete, .put, whatever you want, and then you would actually have put in, as you see there on line 11, it's returning the Umbraco upgrader model. You would have had your own model here if the other thing had worked, but now you can just delete that. So delete the generic value and just go with CTX.json, and then you maybe paste in. You can do like actually just the data you copied from from the old back office, yeah.
Nice
yeah,
if
or maybe you should. I don't know. It should work, right? But you could maybe do it as I don't know, as code as well using your new extension, but I guess that one, it should work.
Let's do that then. Control Shift, Control Shift P, paste JSON as types, no.
No, as code. Yeah.
That didn't work.
Well, you need to write a top level name. You ignored the pop-up. But I mean, it should work with your regular JSON as well. Oh, so it's actually pasting types as well? Yeah, well, now I'm not sure what it actually does. You know what? Just paste in your...
I'm going to paste in the role.
Yeah. Yeah. Save that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you need to change the path as well, sorry. So the /upgrade/settings need to reflect your... You should have...
redirect URL.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we called it.
Management. And now you'll actually get a type error because it doesn't know the endpoint.
Management, and we just said get redirects. From
no, it's just called redirects. Yeah. Yeah.
So now we're getting type check-in because...
Yeah, it doesn't exist. But you can just delete the Umbraco path thing and just type out the entire path, which is, let me see, /backoffice/API, I believe the base path is.
/API.
No, yeah, Umbraco/backoffice, I think, is actually the current.
So get rid of this.
Yep. There you go. And just delete the post endpoint below. Yeah. And so then you go back to the browser handlers and you just add it to. Import it and add it to the array.
Cool, and then I'm assuming.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So now you have the mocked endpoint, so you should be able to call it already.
Okay.
So going back to your dashboard code, I guess you can try it in the browser. You can actually just make a call there. So there's like AngularJS has lifecycle hooks, for on init or on change. Lit has it as well. One of them is called connected callback. So that's what you want to use. If you just start trying connected callback.
Any reason I'm not getting any completions?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, no comma there. Yeah, so you can actually just, with the browser fetch API, are you familiar with that?
Loosely.
So just do fetch, and then it's a function you call. There's no get, it's just fetch. Yeah, and you just type in the URL, so /Umbraco/backoffice, whatever you just had.
Let's just copy paste.
Yeah, you just copy it.
Wrong one.
That one, yeah. Yeah, and how is it with fetch? You need to await it, I think, or you can do with .then. You decide. Async await or .then. And then the response you get, you need to convert that into. So yeah, I don't know what syntax you're doing there, but you just need to type. Data, and then one of those fat errors or what you want to call it, anonymous functions, and then you do data.json. So return data.json, and that's also a function, the JSON thing there. So you need parentheses, yeah, and then another .then. That's probably easiest. just hook it onto the end. Yeah. Now you actually have your model, but of course it's not typed because the schema generator failed. But if you just do data or redirects or something, again there, yeah. Then one of those arrows, yeah, you can just log into console, for instance. Yeah. So I wonder if the mock service work actually works just by saving that, or if you need to if you need a new to restart the read server. That would be interesting.
No, because here it is. All right.
Great. Yeah.
Nice. So then
how much time do we have here?
we're 5 minutes over, so I think we're gonna have to potentially pause and wrap up. As much as I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe I can.
Really interesting to watch along, but yeah, there's a lot more to learn here.
Yes, for sure. Has anyone got any questions whilst Jacob's around, or anything they want to ask or know about the code base whilst we're all here together?
I think just the links again, because you pasted them earlier, but it'd be useful to have, maybe if this is going on YouTube, could we have the links in the description for these repositories so we can have a look at them?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, for sure.
But I've got one quick question for Jacob. I know we've got everything in Storybook, but are we going to have something in, I don't know, Adobe XD or something like that? Are we able to export the stuff from Storybook into a visual editor so we can do some mock-ups?
So, I actually have someone on my team currently wanting to investigate. There's a new thing for Figma called Storybook to Figma, where you can kind of point it to a URL and to a storybook, and it can try and put that into Figma. So that's one thing we're researching. But yeah, to be honest, we don't really have the resources to do that as well as building the new back office on the side. But for sure, it would be interesting if you could just basically plug in a storybook and it would work.
I mean, to go with that plugin, with the Figma plugin, yeah, that would be.
Yeah. Does it work? That's.
I've seen demos of it working, and to be quite honest, seeing as everyone's using design tokens in all sorts of ways now, I mean, I've manually pulled in design tokens with SAS and converted them that way. I've pulled design tokens in directly using SAS and just pulled them into data attributes and then matched the data attributes in the CSS that way. But it would be lovely to be able to, if we want to describe something, obviously it's much easier to do a mock-up of it. And if we've got all of the components, I did hear back from the team at one point about why it's not being done, because it's all moving so quickly, and every time someone changes something, they'd have to maintain the component library. But with modern component libraries in things like Adobe XD, you can actually create a library. So if you've got 50 examples all using one component, you can just update the component and it'll update, the library, and it'll update in 50 places. I have used that on quite big projects, and it can be a little dangerous, but you can make mistakes. But it's very powerful and very good. So it would be lovely to get one started. I see lots of developers saying, "Oh, it would be nice to just mock something up before they start work on it," to get sign off. So.
Yeah, what we didn't mention here is actually we also have a storybook for the back office. So at the moment we're kind of juggling with two different storybooks, one for UI library, another for back office. I know there's some federation you can activate as well to have like another storybook included in one. And that could be a step forward as well in terms of making a library available, so containing both UI and back office components, because obviously back office will ship with its own components as well, not only the UI components. So say if we wanted to build one of those tables, we would probably do that with the UMB prefix, but it would internally use the UUI components, so you could know exactly where it came from. But yeah, if we could get there where we actually publish a unified storybook for our stuff, and if something like this Figma plugin worked, well, we could more easily, it would be a lot less, how do you say it? Not as troublesome to maintain a library. Because if we have to maintain a Figma library next to everything we're building here as well, it would take a lot of resources. But yeah, so we're really looking forward to automate a lot of stuff. I think Figma is a nice tool, so for sure would be nice to mock stuff up. I mean, I needed that myself when I was on the client side, so yeah, can definitely see the uses.
Just even working in dev teams as well, if you're just trying to explain a bit
Sure.
of functionality, to be able to mock something up quickly and click through a prototype, and it might take an hour or two compared to a day or two to try and do it in front end or longer. So
sure,
really
yeah.
looking forward to it.
And I don't really want to put my head on the table here as well, but I mean, I might have exposed how we actually work with stuff internally at HQ. We don't really use Figma or anything like that at the moment, but I mean, we're growing as well, getting more and more front-end developers and POs, PMs, I don't know, stakeholder groups. We kind of need to get moving, with mocking fast and prototyping fast. So yeah, it's needed on both sides.
Having used both quite considerably, Adobe XD is much lighter and faster for quick stuff, and I think I think it would take you less than a week to get all of the current components used in the back office into an Adobe XD component library. I know it would go out of date, but as I said, because it's a library, you can very quickly replace stuff. You can, and also it exports as tokens as well, as design tokens as well. So, which you can then just paste straight into Storybook. So
you're actually more on the side of XD than say Figma. Would you say that?
For very quick prototyping, yes. I mean, for example, I've created mobile phone apps, and I can send the client a link, and it runs on their phone. They think it's a finished. They think it's an app.
Amazing.
Nice.
So what do they even need you for?
It feels that way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They think it's really easy to build an app after that.
Yeah.
Nice stuff. Well, thanks for the demo and walkthrough, Jacob. And yeah, maybe we'll do one of these again in the future when we can prototype something a little bit quicker end to end.
Definitely. Thank you very much. That was super useful.
Really exciting.
Yeah, go and have a poke around. Go and have a play.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.